networking, I'm not a fan, but enjoy, if you, but don't rely on that too much. Even if you build a network, if you build a company, and don't think that you're on your own at the end of the day. There's like a lot of things in life, I know it's cynical, but you're on your own. You need to have a good idea, and if people are going to give you money, it's because your idea is going to work. You can do it on the merit. And of course, if you have people who can help you, mentor you slightly along the way, it's not a bad thing. But I would spend more time on the business and networking aspect, especially in the early days.
I would like to ask you about maintaining these relations that you already gained. That it's somehow it happened by networking, I guess, that you found like some partners. So is it important to maintain those relations?
We didn't find our partners through networking.
No.
No, so we
surprising because usually like when companies are starting their.
But the guys met at university. So suppose it's a student network, but they were just in so they started at university together. I met my husband because he was my customer, so it's it's a bit naughty, but he was a very good customer. But so when I was working for Scion, he was my distributor in Holland. But I can't say, and all the customers I had, you just go and show you. I don't know. I don't think that. Again, for me and also for the guys, networking has not been such a big. I mean, there's people you meet along the side in companies that you know, of course, you have. But I never encourage active networking. So it was not. In our case, it wasn't. It wasn't the case. Sorry. Wrong answer.
Yeah, it's a bit hard for us because.
Yeah, carry on. That's
networking and how. Like,
go with it.
Improvise.
Talk about sales, probably, which I think you work in sales and marketing.
Yeah, sales. My.
I guess most of the question, if you substitute the word network with sales, probably goes similar. Maybe they can help.
But if you want to sell, you identify who your customers are. So you just go. In our case, it's like taking your briefcase and knocking on the door of Dixon and Halfords and MediaMarkt and all those companies, Fnac and Euronics. I'm trying to see El Corte Inglés. I don't know which countries. And, you know, you just. That's what you do, and you go meet the buyers, and you build a relationship, but with the buyers. But you don't meet them outside. It's not people you meet, you know, in a network outside the purpose for which you go and see them.
Do you feel that being a woman has helped you the ability to sell your product?
No, I told you my husband was my customer. No, actually. You think I slept my way to the top? Is that what you imply? No, I told you it came afterwards. No, no, actually it doesn't. But I think you don't. In work, people forget about gender after a while. I think it's. You know, often I hear about the glass ceiling and all of that, and I only realized it was a problem when I started to deepen myself into this and realizing that very few women make it to the top. But from my own experience, it was never an issue. But I've been lucky when I work at Scion. I did international sales, and I traveled all over the world on my own and built up distribution, again with no network. I just went to Eastern Europe and appointed distributors, people who come and see us, you select them, you go and meet them. So no, I thought being a woman is not it's not a problem. On the contrary, today, because of a lot of positive discrimination, because we need more women, and we need more women not because we need more women, but because one, it's 50% of the talent pool, and it would be a tremendous waste not to use women, and secondly, because it is proven, I see it every day, that you need a mix. Both men and women in an organization, we look at the world differently, and it works better. And it's a real shame when I see that women don't make it to. So at 20, that's 50-50. At 30, we've already lost about 20%. And in executive position in Europe, it's only 8% of women make it to the executive suite in Europe. Supervisory board is about 20%, but the same group that sits on all the boards, so it's not really a reflection. So bigger women is not a disadvantage. I'm in a world of mainly men, And that's okay. Again, you forget after a while. They forget and you forget. That's not a problem. But I would really encourage women to push themselves and try to go right to the top, especially in Europe. I think in Asia you're doing better, but I think in Europe it's still an issue.
I would like to ask about the journalist, because you mentioned earlier that you had to like take a journalist and showed him how your application works and everything. So somehow it's like maybe not exactly as networking,
but that's PR. That's what you call PR.
Yeah, but how to say? What I meant was that you had to.
Okay, let me explain.
Yeah.
So when you go PR is you go and see a journalist and you want him to write an article. Now I've created a network in Holland. It's called Women Corporate Director. It's a network that started in the US, and that's a network now that's got a lot of chapters. And we are together, women in C-suite and supervisory board. That's a network. So it's transversal. So I don't meet them because of my job. I meet them for something outside. We create a network because we want to have exchange ideas on business. Through that, potentially could come business contacts. Oh, I know this woman, and she sits on the board of Michelin, and they have a telematics company, or JC&Co, and we talk, and then we realize we can do things in common. Okay, so through your network you talk, but the network starts about something else, or you have a CEO network, all the CEO meet and exchange ideas. That's one thing. When you go and meet a journalist, you target him. You want to meet him because you want him to write an article, and that's a different thing. So joining a network, like you're going to create probably a network, and hopefully you stay in contact, and later on you might pull on each other. So do you remember we met in Brussels, and you've got a company that does this, can you help me? I need some help with that. So that's a different thing than going to a journalist or to a customer. So network is really an organized, it's something that's more horizontal, where you get people along a certain idea, and then you can tap on their knowledge. But it's again early on in the process. I'm not sure it's that useful because everybody's very busy with their own things.
Maybe did you had that situation that somebody wanted to contact with you because they wanted to make a network with you?
Yeah. So I'm not on LinkedIn, for example, but I get a lot of invitation all the time. So there's a lot of people who want to be in contact with us, and I don't do that because you also, you know, the same way, and it's also in my nature. I don't like asking people things, okay? So I'm just the way I am. I don't like to leverage my network. I like to do things myself, you know, with the competence that we have in the company, so I don't tend to use that very much. And the other way around, I don't mind being asked, and sometimes I do things, like coming today. I think I enjoy that. It's nice to share that experience, but it's always annoying when people always want something out of you as well. At some point, it can be a bit tiring. It doesn't happen very often, by the way, to be honest.
Just once a year.
Huh?
School is just once a year.
No, but it's and we met. That's a networking thing. So we met through this European community, and then we chat at the end, and then you say. So that's a typical network. You say, well, can you come? And then I say yes. Yeah. So he's a good networker.
Yeah, sure.
Just of course, as a woman, your mother, how did you work-life balance? How did you manage that?
Well, you do. I mean, the thing is, yeah. How did I do that? Well, and I didn't take any maternity leave. I had a crash around the corner, which was also for KLM hair hostesses, so I was open a lot. And so, especially when the business was small, I was the only one doing the commercial work. There was no much substitute. And then when I moved to the UK, I found a school. So I never had an au pair, and I never had anybody living in, but I had someone to help with cooking and cleaning and everything. I'm not so good at that. And when I had very early flight and everything, she would come at 4 o'clock in the morning if needed, that sort of stuff. But basically, I put the kids through school, and the other thing is it was the company and the kids. So there was not much room for social life or anything like that. You need to make your choices, I think. But I never felt, you need to look at yourself. For me, there was no option. I enjoyed what I was doing tremendously, and now that I'm about to leave home, I'm really happy in a way because that's you know, I do something I love, and I didn't fall off the ladder, and I've managed to meet amazing people and have a crazy, amazing life. My boys I'm very close to, so we're very close. We are very, and I spent a lot of time with them. We used to take them everywhere with us, including to. And I remember celebrating our 10 million product in China, and there was, you know, thank you for your business, thank you for your business. Everybody there, and the two small toddlers with us. So you tend to blur the two a little bit, but yeah, it's a bit of a family adventure as well when you're an entrepreneur. I think they understand that. I think they're proud of what I do, and they're not. They have a lot of drive themselves. They're interested in products. One is studying engineering and physics in Canada, and so it worked. But it's hard work. You need to be extremely well organized, very well organized, and but look, in a lot of cultures, women work. My mom's always worked, and I think that's it's kind of normal as well, and I think for women as well, they don't underestimate the financial independence part of it. You know, it's we live in lives that are very unpredictable, and being able to have your own salary and your own independence is not it's not a bad thing. It makes you right. It makes you make the right choices, and that's so. On a lot of counts, I think working for women is a good thing. And you find an employer that I mean, we're good to women if the child is sick or whatever. You know, you give a flexibility, and people can work from home as well. I never worry about women because they always, even they stay at home, they work twice as much. It's not an issue. I think that's. But I'm really petrified when they have children. I say, you're going to come back, and you're going to come back, and most of them do. So, and nobody regrets it. I don't think. I think that at the end of the day, it's you can do. I'm a great believer. You can do both. But then you less time with the girls, I suppose. But hey, that's.
Last one, brilliant. So our group was asked to try and find out a bit about failure.
Yeah.
So we were wondering, could you maybe give us an example of some point where you failed and what you sort of most learned from that experience, I guess?
Yeah, I think, of course, it's being as an entrepreneur. You have moments where it goes up and down. I think in the year, so we were motoring ahead. So with software, in 2000 we start working with the first companies. You may remember them, Ericsson and Nokia. They were doing telephones, yeah. So they wanted to do the first smartphones, and they were looking for application, and we put a lot of our resources and our development resources onto this. And guess what? The fun never happened, and we could have very much gone under at that time. So. And that was a moment we started looking for venture capital as well, because we had to lay people off, and it was awful. So you learn. I think as an entrepreneur, you're judged more how you react when you're down is how you're going when you're up. I think that's you need a lot of resilience to deal with failure and to deal with the downturn, and you need to dust yourself down and still keep track of where you want to go. And I think that's resilience is very testing. It was a very stressful moment, and but you need to you know, if you can come out of it, you come stronger.
Yeah. Okay. We talked earlier about how you're very close with the 4 founders, and we were wondering, so when you have a failure as a team, how does that affect your relationship with your colleagues, your husband?
Well, the thing is, because we agree, yeah, and we're very complimentary. So there is not saying, "Oh, but you twatted, it's your fault." Yeah. So everything is very collective. So actually, it's a big strength because there's always one to help the other, because it's very lonely at the top. Actually, it sounds a bit like cliche, but it is. You know, there's not many people you can talk to. Having a strong group at the top means that we can actually rely on each other and go for that beer and say, okay, what do we do now? You know, and then you take a deep breath, and then you analyze where you're going to go. So it's where you pull your strengths. There's always one out of the 4 that will pull the other ones up. So it's good and not bad. It's never been a reason for conflict, but always a source of comfort.
Okay, so that you don't find there's a strain between boys.
No, there's never been. No.
Do you find that there are any sort of particular areas of business, so when you have a failure, do you find that it's usually attributed to a communication breakdown, or what kind of classic things do you see as?
Not big failures.
Okay.
There's little failures. The
Yeah.
project that doesn't work could be communication breakdown. That happens. But for the big failures, those are strategic choices that are wrong. So
Okay.
you decided to go one direction and it doesn't work, or you decided to organize yourself that way and it doesn't work. So you need to have you need to realize it early, and so if you start working on something, don't pull a dead horse. If it's not working, it's just not working. Cut your losses and move on. I think it's you need to recognize early on, because as an entrepreneur you will try things. Some will work and some won't. A good example is a couple of years ago we incubated a company doing taxi products. So we spent quite a lot of money and resources. We created a special group. We put them separately, and they developed a fantastic product. But we could not get the business model to work. And we invested quite a bit on marketing and brochure, and at some point we said, okay, it's just not going to work, cut it. And even though you made the investment, we could not just make the number add up. So that's what you do. So don't, early on in the process, have a look, question it, and if it doesn't work, just cut it and go to the next thing.
So when you're sort of deciding that, how do you, does it have to be like financially not available?
Yeah, normally that's what it is. So either the product will never work, so there's products will never make it to market. There's quite a few products that we've made where you think, or it's not the right time. You think, well, we've got a product, but we're too busy doing this and it's going to disturb us too much, or we can't make the business model work. So there could be, you have a lot of failures. I mean, you're a bit young to remember iMode, but you have a lot of WAP. You have a lot of hype technology, so never made it because, or went to market, but they were just too early or too late. So you also need to be careful and assess your risk. Then it costs you a lot of money. Once you've gone to market, you've invested. So
as young entrepreneurs, what would you kind of give us advice if we were trying to grow a company and try to avoid making the same mistakes as companies before us? What would you say?
Well, if you can grow what you're doing, you're on the right path. But if you can't see, you've tried and your model doesn't work, then you can tweak it. But at some point, if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. So don't drag it, move on. Again, it's about selecting the right ideas, get a proof of concept, making sure that you get, very early on, get signed that what your ideas are working. I do this at the moment with my new watches, it's the same thing. So, I mean, it's like setting up a new company again. So, you know, what's the sell-out per week, per store, and then you try things in a store, is this working, that working? Be very close to your numbers. It's always, at the end of the day, unfortunately, it's always a question of numbers. It needs to come more out than you put in. So, and get your dashboards, to be clear. Again, for us, it's number of, can I see that number of watches going up per week per store? So are people buying more? Do they like the product? Social media, what's the review? What's on the blogs? Are people happy? I'm not happy. What can I do? What can I change? So you need to have your antennas out, and you've got so many means now, especially with social media, with reviews, to look at products. If you're an internet product, the same thing. So monitor that very carefully at the beginning.
Do you find like, if you start getting bad reviews, does that really kill a product? How do you kind of...
No, you can come back. It hurts a lot, and you can come back if you show you've listened. So first of all, you need to be able to, and we have this. We have a very funny situation where our products are getting very good reviews in Europe and very bad reviews in the US. So it's a question of listening and being convinced you can fix it, and then take your time. So what I was saying earlier on, the resilience, you know, don't say, oh my God, but say, okay, what can we do to fix it? Take the team on the case, and then you see the reviews getting up, and so you can fix it. If it's not really, really broken, if in the reviews you see that actually the problem is actually not fundamental, you can see either it's fundamental and it's your software architecture doesn't work, or if it's a question of price, you know, you can fix that, providing your margins are okay. But if it's a question of, we had a lot of reproach about the colors of the scheme. Now, you know, you can change the colors, that's fine. So it depends on the feedback you get. But you can change the reviews, yes.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Get some more. Okay.
We have 4 minutes more, actually.
Okay.
So there are 2 things that you could do. Either if there is any open question, definitely now it's a time, about anything.
whatever you think. Or usually what we do is that, I mean, some of you, there is a little coffee break there with some coffee, some water, but definitely someone of you wants to talk a bit more with Corinne before they take her down to the other one. That's your time to jump on. So if there is any open question now, or something you, please.
So how do you find customer insights for new products? Where do you put your antennas to grab that information that then feeds your idea process and all of the research and development?
Yeah, there's a lot of areas that comes from. So you look, for example, we wanted to go into running. So you need to kind of go, have a bit of an area you want to go into, and then you look at what people like. So that's for the sports product. What are they happy about? What they're not happy about? What are they saying on the blog? So you've got all that information today that you can data mine that. We're looking at 2 new products we're going to launch next year, which I can't talk to you about, but we're doing just that. So you scan the web, you have a look what people satisfied with or not. So there is a lot of info. I prefer that than buying service. You can also buy these ABI research stuff. I'm not a big fan of that. I think that if you just look at, there's so much information today that it's easy in a way to get a sentiment about what makes people stick or happy. And then you try to see whether you can fix it. And then you need some sort of uniqueness. So my example of the sports watches, our runner watch and our multi-sports watch are much easier to use and more performance than the other products on the market. But really, what put us on the map was we were the first to launch with cardio-frequence, so the heart rate monitor inbuilt in the watch. And that was completely new, which means when you run, you don't need a strap anymore. So you also need to have something that's really innovating and that's really going to set you aside of competition. Then you can try out as well. Huh? We do a lot of trying with concept tryout. There's a product we want to release just to measure traffic information, and you get beta testers, and then you get back. And then at some point you say, yeah, now it's ready. Technology is ready, the product is doing what it says, and then you launch. But you always take a risk. Huh? You don't know.
Do you think it's possible for small tech startup to break into the technology market as it is now? Because like you've got so much R&D revenue, money going on R&D. Can small companies still break in, or is it too saturated?
I think it never is. I make a parallel often with the food market. Look at, you got Procter & Gamble, Unilever on one side, and all Danone and all the others. And some people like Innocent came out with a drink and they managed to get it, or Saturn and Augustin in France. You need just to have something that's different. And I think consumer also change a lot. So I think it is possible. You need to have something that makes a difference. You need to differentiate yourself. But I think, in a way you have more opportunities today as well to make success. You have more information, potentially access to capital, so Kickstarter as well, to make your ideas well known. If your ideas make sense and your product makes sense, then I think you have a chance. Yes, I think that's. But the thing is not to be too naive, is to make sure that and get your proof of concept at the beginning. But you have companies every day that come out, and nobody necessarily needs to be the next Google either. I mean, you can have nice. The next big area is home automation. Big companies will make it there. I think that's the next big area. So you have quite a few startups going there. But I was looking yesterday at the travel world. Super saturated, you would think. And then this Dutch company called Travelbird, they're growing at 400% at the moment. It's the right concept at the right time. That's the beauty of the world we live in. Actually, it is possible. It's not easy, huh? But it's possible.
May I? So you have mentioned that the 4 founders are good friends. So from the human resources section, how do you deal with the situation if you have different decisions or different idea, like which production you should focus on for the market, the promotion?
I think, we've been working with each other, we know each other like the back of our hands, so we know each other so well. And because we've kind of grown together, it's talking about 4 people who've been working together for more than 25 years. So it's not very often that we disagree. We can have difference of opinion, but because of the respect we have for each other, we will listen, and we've never worked in a conflictual situation.
Because I have my own business with my good friend, so actually sometimes we have some different ideas, so we argued about this kind of case.
At the beginning, it happens a lot. Especially with so at the beginning I was with one of the developer and we would argue quite often. But he respected what I said on the commercial side, and I respected what he said on the technical side. I think the key is not to have overlapping skills, so that your skill sets are very complementary, and you earn each other's respect for your skill set. So she will say, okay, you know better there, I'll trust you, I'll follow you, and you the other way. After a very heated debate, but at least there is respect. And that's very difficult to find, I agree, it's not easy.
I have a question about social media. Do you think it's important now to put everything online in Facebook, Twitter, or all those?
I don't think you have a choice. I mean, it's the world is online. I mean, it's for the brand. The brand was not prepared to what's happening online. Well, it's very easy for your brand, for someone to pick up on something, and it goes around the world in a nanosecond. So absolutely. I mean, everything is going online. Marketing is going online. So yes, it's a key thing.
Yeah, we also checked that your page on Facebook is in different languages. I checked, I'm from Poland, and it's in Polish.
Yeah.
But if somebody checked with another language, it was in another language.
Yeah.
I think it's really.
You have to, and we're not as we can get better, but you need. We have Twitter account in every languages, Facebook pages, or shop or website. I think it's and monitoring that as well. During the World Cup, for example, Pele got stuck in traffic. Okay, so within 2 minutes we issued TomTom marked Pele 0. If Pele had used TomTom traffic, he would not have missed the match. And then we got our Twitter follow-up. It was retweeted I don't know how many times. Twitter even called us, so what did you do? And our Facebook page was liked. Things are left online. I mean, your generation especially, you know that. It's kind of, so you can't, as a brand today, and the big question we ask ourselves now is the shoppers of 2020. How will people shop in 5 years' time? Will they still go to retail? Will the pure players be the winners, or will the brands be the winner? And how will you be shopping? And I think those are very interesting things. And there's also a lot of opportunities there for new business. In understanding that type of consumer behavior, because it's all about consumer behavior. It's all about anticipating what people will need and want to. If you do that, then you will build very successful businesses.
And as a great entrepreneur, I think maybe you will experience a lot of ups and downs. And how do you face it? And is there any method to adjust your mood and to encourage yourself to just go on?
I think that's what I said. You are, when you build a company, it's like your baby, and if your child is sick, you're not letting there. You kind of do everything to make it better. And it's a company, in your company, it's a bit the same. So you're motivated by the well-being of the enterprise. You have a great sense of responsibility for the people who work for you. It's when it's your own company, everything comes very emotional in a way as well. So you need to keep that line between, the business, especially when you're listed and where you're going. But we always look long-term. So you always think when things are down, you always fight to put it back right and to put it back healthy. And I think the same way as you would do with someone that's dear to you, same thing. So that's where you get your motivation. You want it to do well, you want to grow, you want to be successful.
Well, madam, as you mentioned, you just said that women hold key positions in the enterprise, and you told us about the relationship between your family and your career. So I just wonder, what is the biggest difficulty for a woman to run a company or to be a leader?
I think so. Now it's a bit different, but when I was in my previous company, to be honest, I went through the ranks quite fast as well. And I think the reason is confidence. I think you need to have confidence in yourself. And I know it's easy to say, but confidence is little things of every day. So, and the guys around here, I tell you, they don't ask themselves too many questions. They just get on and say, can you do this job? Of course I can. I can do 10 more things as well. And the girls, can you do this? Oh, I'm not sure. I haven't done that bit there, you know. And so just think about all the stuff you do well. And just see how, you know, build on your little successes and look whatever is going to work for you. That gives you the confidence to put yourself forward and think how good you are and think how well you've done at school and think how hard you've studied and think that you really deserve to push yourself through. And when that pay rise comes around, go and ask your boss, that's what I've done, now I need to be paid for it. And when this promotion comes around, say, hey, there is a promotion, I think I'm qualified for the job. Because often the guys say, oh, this guy is a flight risk. It's a big question. If we don't give him what he wants, he will leave. She's okay. She hasn't asked for anything. So I think the girls, you need to be confident. You need to put yourself forward. You need to brag a little bit about what you've done in a nice way. But I think it's a question of confidence, and then you just make it to the top. Often in the company, the girls say, yeah, but my manager, he will see that I'm doing well. Yeah, if he's a good manager, he will. But if he's not, and you don't know. So I think it's important that you, in a nice way, but you know, put yourself forward, show what you do, make sure that you have contact to the top, that people see you, you know, come in their radar with a particular project. Don't be scared to go in someone's office in the evening, say, I've done this, what do you think? Can you help me? Could you be my mentor? Mentoring in companies is very important. Someone, you know, when the chips are down and you're feeling bad, someone will give you that little, come on, it's going to be okay. And, you know, companies are like mini societies. You need to find allies and people who will give you that little push. And you're worth it. You know, think about L'Oréal. Yeah.
Last one.
You were talking about social media marketing and so on. Live events like, I don't know, Google and Apple are doing, or the TED Talks,
yeah,
are the right choice to get in touch with journalists, public, and is it the right choice to return from online, from socials to real life?
Yeah, every now and then you need to. So every 2 years we do that. We invite all our journalists and all our customers, and yeah, you have a beer with them. And so you can't do everything online. You also need to meet people. I mean, we still, you know, funnily enough, even so, we have very good video conferencing for certain type of meeting. I insist everybody's in the room, especially if it's strategic. Because you've all seen on YouTube those funny videos where people are all on the speakerphones in different. Have you seen that? You know, when it's going to go, it's noisy, or get out of the room, or fall asleep. So you do want human interaction. I think that going online doesn't mean you suppress human interaction. And you need to go and see customers as well. And I think every live event where you have real people in the room is very important. And we do that with our employees as well. Even so, I mean, once a year we have a big sales and marketing event. We bring everybody together in a nice location where people can interact, exchange ideas. So that's, you still need that, thankfully. It's part of the fun as well. If you were behind a computer, it's not, I think it's a good mix. But you need social, I believe anyway that you need human interaction.
Thank you.
Thank you.